of whom are confirmed and 47 are suspects.
There have been concerns of lack of protective gear for medical workers, but Muruta says there is enough in stock only for health workers to make orders from the national medical stores.
To learn how to put on their personal protection equipment, but even most importantly, after coming out of treatment rooms, theaters, they should be able to put off this personal protection properly in a way that is required by the guidelines.
In his address, the head of state assured the nation that no restrictions will be instituted despite the Ebola outbreak, as the population has been guided on how to protect themselves.
Prepared, but also the rest of the country are at a high level of alertness, and at best they are airing educative messages to their communities. Should they come across suspects, they should know how to deal with them.
Government is testing some vaccines that can be used to vaccinate against Sudan Ebola strain, given that at the time of the outbreak, there were no vaccines for this particular strain. Miriam Wamudsha, UBC News.
Uganda today joins the rest of the world to celebrate the World Day under the theme, Mind Your Gap, Leave No One and Place Behind. However, despite the Global Day, being the Minister for Land, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakuba says Uganda will be officially marking the day on the 7th of October 2022 with a housing symposium to be held at Speak Resort, Munyanya.
Development is in final stages of coming up with a long-awaited real estate sector regulatory bill, which will be presented to Cabinet for approval. The same ministry is implementing the 2008 National Slum Upgrading Strategy and Action Plan, where all affordable housing schemes for the slum dwellers will be constructed. This has been revealed at the Uganda Media Center this morning by the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakuba, while unveiling Uganda's forthcoming National Housing Symposium to be held at Speak Resort Munyonyo on the 7th October. The symposium, co-organized with Habitat for Humanity, is part of the celebrations to mark this year's World Habitat Day.
We are also implementing the National Slum Upgrade Strategy and Action Plan 2008, which provides a framework for improving living conditions of slum dwellers and informal settlements in urban areas through a multi-sectoral approach.
The minister also revealed plans of implementing the National Housing Policy 2016 and the Landlord and Tenant Act of 2022.
He has developed a comprehensive national physical development plan to address human settlements as well as other land use patterns.
The National Director of Habitat for Humanity, Robert Yotim, says that the theme is timely.
To continue and recommit the vulnerable group housing program in this country to at least be able to support about 200 families every year in this country.
Uganda is estimated to have a housing deficit of 2.5 million decent, livable houses. The UN resolution of December 1985 declared the very first month of October each year as World Habitat Day. Edward Colin Juko for UBC, Kampala.
Now, Uganda People's Congress, UPC, is demanding for a formal cooperation document from the NRM party to confirm their relationship and position where it stands with the party. This follows the Yala elections that took place last week, where, according to Hijenyi Kemba, a party official, their Secretary General was deliberately sidelined by the NRM caucus in favor of two independent NRM-leaning candidates. UPC says it's now distancing itself from the NRM party, disregarding their relationship until it sets a structured conversation between UPC and NRM.
We are here to address you over a very serious matter that you have been asking us about. What is the relationship between UPC and the NRM? The just concluded EALA elections give us an opportunity to answer you today. The state of relations between the Uganda People's Congress and the National Resistance Movement.
How the cooperation should help the two political organizations to be solidified by way of formal documentation. Recently, you saw the Democratic Party and the NRM entering into a written cooperation. For the UPC case or situation, we've only heard of the cooperation, but we have no cooperation documents. So,
given what happened, we distance ourselves. Uganda People's Congress distances itself from whatever happened. We are not party to any relations where we are backstabbed. And this is not about UPC alone. It is also about the democratic process of Uganda. The acts of omission of NRM in failing the UPC Secretary General have caused a fracture between the cooperation between UPC and NRM. In the meantime, the acts of the NRM have disregarded any kind of cooperation. They have disregarded any kind of cooperation by backstabbing the UPC, by disregarding and humiliating its member, and it's none other than the Secretary General of the Uganda People's Congress. That is no mean act. It's not a small matter that we can gloss over.
Nigerians living in Uganda have celebrated their country's 62nd independence at the Nigerian High Commissioner's residence in Kampala. Ambassador Charles Sentongo, on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, said Nigeria has made a lot of achievements that have impacted the East African region and Africa at large. Now, the call for Ugandans is to maintain peace in their country, and represented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Charles Sentongo, commended Nigeria for the transformation of their economy.
Uganda, we are celebrating 60 years of bilateral relations with your nation. This is a greater achievement. What does it state? You were one of the people who helped Uganda in its anti-colonial struggle. When we gained independence, our two countries started working together on the decolonization process, starting with many countries which are not yet achieved independence, to ending the brutal apartheid in South Africa and the independence our brothers and sisters attaining in South Africa. We have had common positions on issues relating to Africa and the third world in general. Some of them have not been easy, considering the power play among the big powers. But Nigeria, you have led, and we are very proud of you.
What we are here to do today is to celebrate, and we are grateful to God Almighty, and we also recognize the efforts of Nigerians that have kept our country as one united entity, in spite of some of the challenges we have faced in the past few years. Through the years, Nigerians have shown resilience, both at home and abroad. Many Nigerians have made history through their creativity and inventions, especially Nigerians in the diaspora, who have continued to contribute immensely to the socio-economic development in their countries of residence.
It's time for us to take a short break, but do not go away. We'll return with more news.
October Bidel Musaba Gardens Emukono, October Mukaga Millennium Gardens Sazibuaya, October Munanaji Montelembara, 10 October, 40 Poto Muchisawe, Abidim Bi October, Bale Sports Center, Umtual Kumo, Yepem Tuale Santo, a meza million yemo, Wabla Tual Kumia, Abana tickets of Cosa MTN Momo, Banjagusa Sulan Comitano, Binamina Romo Center, Hiva Motors, Galaxy FM, Radio 4, Kawila War, MTN.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and the ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Yo!
Airtel is giving you bigger data bundles for the same price. Dial star 175# to choose from our range of bigger Chillax bundles that don't expire and stay connected longer to loved ones. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Stay connected on the largest 4G network in Uganda using the Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi at only 75,000 Uganda shillings. It comes with 15 GBs free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 of your friends and family at a go. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today or call 0800 333 330 for free delivery within Kampala. Dial *175 *9# to activate free 15 GBs. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's better to foster respect instead of fear and pain.
Cause a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Uganda, the time is here to celebrate like never before. MTN and Talent Africa present Afro Palooza. Independence Week weekend, 8th to 9th of October, featuring over 60 artists in a 2-day celebration of Uganda, including Rama, Maddox, Sauti Soul, Zex Bilanji, Janzi Band, Cindy, Winnie Nwaji, Fika, Maurice Curia, and a lot more. That's not all. Arts and culture showcases, business expos, culinary experience. Yes, come get a taste of Uganda. Afropalooza is proudly brought to you by Talent Africa, Jameson, Now Special, Stanbic Bank, and MTN. Afropalooza, celebrating the Pearl of Africa.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800-100-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
You know, sometimes it's easy for us to think because we are in the church, because we are in the house of God, because we are believers, we shall escape some of these things. How many of you know we shall face the same vagaries the world is facing, whether we are born again or not? If you are going to disciple gatekeepers, you've got to be a gatekeeper. And actually the purpose of this conference is to challenge both of us, the pastors, and to challenge the people that we are pastoring, that actually what God expects of us is to be gatekeepers wherever we are.
Welcome back. Let's look at what's happening in business. The Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, has urged innovators to use their works in the fight against unemployment. Nawangwe was officiating the university's College of Computing exhibition and public lecture ahead of the forthcoming final celebrations to mark 100 years.
Take a picture and then click a button to run a model or a system that has been trained in the background.
Makerere University is in the final celebrations to mark 100 years of existence. As part of the university's celebrations, the College of Computing has exhibited various innovations which are vital to society.
We are working on the solution. We are students at Makerere University doing a bachelor's in software engineering, year 4. Yes, and we are working on our solution is a system that enables the blind to easily to easily move around, get to know the things around them, and feel free with the environment around them to simplify their perceiving of data or things around them. So, we are deploying computer vision and sonification. What do I mean? Is computer vision is field in artificial intelligence that uses photos, videos. Then you try to make sense of them so that you can tell them to the person who is unable to see because they are blind. Then sonification is echolocation. What I mean is like the way bats move, because we are taught in science bats are blind and they see through echoes. So we use that technology to help the people move around and know what's around them. So here, this is the camera, and this is the camera, and this it's used to get the photos, videos, of what is around. Then this, what it captures here is sent to the phone. The phone has the an artificial intelligence on it that is running in real time without internet or whatever. So you don't need internet connection. All you need is our app and install it on your phone. Then it gets all the information from the sensors, the ones attached on the foot and the camera. Then it can help you to take your next action. For example, our system, we divide it into 3. We have exploratory mode, navigation mode, tracking mode.
We'll talk about this project that is dealing with automated mobile microscopy. In this work, the problem we are trying to solve is challenges that are faced in the health centers with microscopy. As you know, we do have quite a lot of microscopy equipment. We have microscopes in the centers, although one of the challenges we have is that we have few people that are able to use the machines and interpret the results in there. So this work is trying to improve the throughput of those health experts by providing an alternative for them where they can automate the process of doing the microscopy and also analyzing the results. Specifically, this showcases work that has been done with malaria, and what you see over here is a setup where we have a microscope on which we mount a mobile phone, and then we can take pictures of the blood slides using the mobile phone. 2 advantages of this. One is that we can increase the throughput because you have very few people. I mean, you have, even when you have very few people, you can still analyze very many images in a day, as the phone has fewer limitations than the eyes. And maybe just to mention, I think the gold standard for microscopists is to only look at 20 slides in a day. So you can imagine how that can be limiting if you have very many patients coming in.
The university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, officiated the exhibition and asked students to use their innovations to take the lead in breaking the burden of unemployment in the country.
We have an obligation to find solutions for our country, but we will not be able to do that effectively just by ourselves or with only government support. We would like to look to your support as alumni so that together we can make Makerere better and make Uganda better.
Professor Nawangwe further urged innovators to protect their innovations to prevent them from being misused. Professor Francis Tusubira, who presented the keynote speech, advised students to change their mindset and embrace change.
In the late 90s and early 2000s, and I know some of you were here, we started e-learning in Makerere. We introduced e-labs, because that's when it started too. We had those discussions. And therefore, e-learning has been around for a very long time. And we try to persuade colleagues that, you know what, e-learning, apart from creating student-centered learning, opens up the opportunity for distance education that is high quality. But academics are not willing to accept that people can learn on their own.
A number of people who have contributed to the college's success have been rewarded. Makerere University is going to have the climax of its celebrations on 6th October 2022. Mary Namkose, Adiana Kuti, UBC News.
Now, looking at green financing, experts say that efforts should be moved towards green financing in one of the ways to protect the environment. This was during an Environment for Development dialogue by EFD Max Center discussing solutions to environmental degradation and climate change.
Experts advise that efforts should be directed towards green financing to support the adoption of measures in promoting better agricultural practices.
Sustainable way. So when we talk of green financing, we want to detach it from the money. We want also to look at the actions of the small farmer in the village deep there who is doing mulching. The action of a small farmer who is putting in place actions to stop erosion of their soil.
The Principal College of Business and Management Science, Professor Eria Hisali, highlights some of the measures to enhance green financing.
Financing will entail a broad range of activities, both at the national level, the investments at the national level that control climate change, but also, very importantly, the action is at the grassroots level, where much of the activity takes place.
What are some of the specific interventions looking at?
Well, there are measures to support mitigation, adaptation to environment, the climate change, and Uganda is a signatory to a number of these conventions. So they are the specific adaptation measures. They are also the environmentally sustainable and the climate sustainable farming practices. These are some of the examples of the green finance.
Whereas some of the available research has not been used for policy making, researchers should ensure to produce correct findings.
Researchers we need to pull our weight in these very important sustainability transitions that we are in front of. So what we are trying to do in the EFD network is to bring the best possible conditions for researchers in the Global South to contribute to their local policies to really enable this kind of green transition that we are so much in need of.
The Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Umar Kakumba, emphasizes the role of universities in conducting research to avail solutions to environmental problems.
We must translate into actionable points, into actionable policies, into practices, into technologies, into capacity building training programs that directly benefit the community.
Marianne Womcha, UBC News.
And in sports, the Uganda under-17 boys national football team, the Uganda Cubs, will face Burundi this afternoon in their first match at the 2022 CECAFA Under-17 qualifiers. This year's tournament is being played at the Abebe Bikila Stadium in Addis Ababa and will act as qualifiers for the 2023 Algeria AFCON Under-17. Uganda is in Group B with Djibouti, Rwanda and Sudan. Uganda is also the defending champion of the CECAFA Under-17 tournament, having won the event back-to-back in 2018, where they won Tanzania, and 2020 they won Rwanda. Players John Makumbi, Jamal Semogedere, Stephen Mugisha, Edgar Chigundu, Najib Nalengi, Patrick Oke, Patrick Sembosi, Elvis Sekajuko, Alex Yiga, Matthias Kasada are part of the team that is representing the country. Now that's all we had time for. Thank you so much for keeping us company. My name is Patricia Elkomampang. Very good afternoon to you.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry